Hi everyone. I know very few of you are watching the videos and keeping up, but for those of you that are, we're going to do some more identities today. We didn't get to finish that the other day. So when we have this, we have to ask ourselves which side looks more complicated, and I think the right side does because it has a fraction. So we're going to multiply by the conjugate. One minus cosine theta over 1 minus cosine theta, which is in the form of 1. So you can do that. You can multiply by 3 over 3 anytime you want because it's 1. And so we're going to make the right side look like the left side. So on the top, I'm not going to distribute. I'm going to leave it like it is. And on the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative cosine is negative cosine. And 1 times positive cosine is positive. Negative cosine plus positive cosine cancels and you get negative cosine squared theta. That's why we do it. Sine theta times 1 minus cosine theta over 1 minus cosine squared theta. You should learn by now that it can be replaced by sine squared theta, that they're reciprocal, they're Pythagorean identities. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. And 1 minus cosine squared theta is sine squared theta, and 1 minus sine squared theta is cosine squared theta. So one of the signs will cancel. We get 1 minus cosine theta over sine theta. And then we're going to separate it into two fractions. 1 over sine theta minus cosine theta over sine theta. We're going to do that fraction, and then we're going to do that fraction. 1 over sine is cosecant, and cosine over sine is cotangent. And if you look at the top, that's what we wanted to establish. So it wasn't too hard. And the next one that we're going to do is which side looks more complicated? The left, right? So I'm going to take sine squared theta minus tangent theta, and I'm going to change tangent theta to sine theta over cosine theta. Change everything to sine and cosine. Cosine squared theta minus cosine theta over sine theta. And then what we're going to do is we're going to multiply, because this has a cosine in the denominator, we're going to multiply the top by cosine theta over cosine theta. And we're going to multiply the bottom by sine theta over sine theta. Top by 1, bottom by 1. So then what we're going to have is we're going to have over cosine theta cosine theta times sine squared theta minus sine theta, because there's a sine theta here, squared theta, and a sine theta here, and this is multiplied by cosine, and this is multiplied by cosine as well. Oh, we're just multiplying this one by it, and this is already over cosine. Over, these are both over sine theta. There, that's better. We get sine theta cosine squared theta minus cosine theta. Then we're going to factor out what's in common. So on the bottom, we have cosine theta. And what's in common here? What's the GCF? Sine theta. So we do sine theta times cosine theta minus 1. Because there's a cosine theta. And here on the bottom, we have a cosine theta in common. So we're going to take out the cosine theta, and we're going to be left with sine. I need to look at this again. This has a sine theta cosine minus 1. When you take out, this one has a sine theta on the bottom, and on the top it has you take out a cosine, but it has a sine theta cosine theta minus 1. Because there's an extra sign from the sine squared. From the cosine squared, there's an extra cosine when you take out one cosine. So it's sine cosine. It's sine cosine. Right here, when you take out a sine, it's still cosine sine. Sine cosine. And on the denominator, it's the same thing. So they both have a sine cosine minus 1. So those cancel. And what we're left with is sine theta, and I'm not going to give you one like this on the test, so don't worry about it, over cosine theta over sine theta. This one is sine over cosine, and this one is cosine over sine. So if you multiply by the reciprocal, sine theta over cosine theta times sine theta over cosine theta, you multiply by the reciprocal, you get sine squared theta over cosine squared theta. What's sine over cosine? Tangent squared theta, which is what we wanted. So that one was a little more complicated. So I'm going to give you more identities for homework. It's going to be number 102, page 476. I'll take a picture of it. 27 to 30, 33 to 36, 39, 41, and 42, and they're due tomorrow at 10 a.m. So you have one day to do them, which should be plenty of time. And I'll take a picture of the book so you have it. If you have questions and want a Zoom meeting, you just have to let me know, and we can have a Zoom meeting and we can go over any of the questions that you have. Okay, thank you.